Is someone you love or are forced to interact with on a regular basis depressed? As a person who has suffered from depression for most of my adult life, as well as my youth and early developmental and fetal stages, I can tell you that depression is not fun and can often lead to death. So how do you deal with someone with depression? Mental health professionals all around the globe agree that the solution to depression lies in what you say to the person who is depressed. But with so many words in the English and Hindi languages, how do you know which combination will work best? I'm here to help. The following are some of the word combinations, also known as sentences, that I have found to be the most helpful over the years. I had an uncle that suffered from depression. The reason I like this one so much is that by identifying an illness in a completely different person that you have an unclear relationship with, it is a great way of telling someone you understand entirely what they are going through. This can often lift the mood of the subject in a depressed state. It could be worse. It is important that you always follow this up with an example of how much worse it can be. You can find great examples of how much worse it can be in Viktor Frankl's 1946 book, Man's Search for Meaning, where he chronicles his experience in an Auschwitz concentration camp during World War II. This kind of example works great by shaming the depressed right out of their depression. You'll notice the change within 2 to 4 hours once the information settles. Cheer up! This one pretty much explains itself, but feel free to spice it up depending on your personality. I come from the South, so I respond much better to the colloquial "buck up" or "stop whining, you piece of shit." I heard a story about someone who was depressed and they completely turned their life around. TED Talks or This American Life is always a good place to find these kind of stories. When the depressed see someone who is able to fight through their depression and accomplish not only something amazing, but something incredibly rare, influential, and powerful, this tends to lift them out of the dark, hopeless pit that they are in and make them feel like they can take on anything that comes their way. If the subject does not respond well to any of the above, here's a short list of other examples. Try smiling more. Go for a walk. Listen to Tony Robbins. Maybe you should get a dog. Look at this teacup pig. Have you ever tried meditating? Have you ever tried heart rhythm meditation? Have you ever tried transcendental meditation? What about mindfulness training? Have you ever tried yoga? Why don't you try to pray about it? Do you eat kale? Have you tried activated charcoal ice cream? Maybe you have too much gluten in your diet. Whatever your approach, it is important to realize that as a person who does not suffer from depression, that you are doing it right. And if you can only convince the depressed person how to act more like you, then they will stop their bad habit of being depressed. For more useful tips on how not to be a bad person, please subscribe.